What is going on, guys? Welcome back to our House channel. My name is Ivan and today we're looking at yet another computer case, but this time around this one is a budget one, or more budget orientated, I guess. It's not over $100. We're talking about $70 case over here that includes 4 RGB fans, and this is the Zalman i3 Neo in the black version. I hope you guys are doing great today, and as always, it's going to be a lengthy video, so grab yourself a snack, a drink, get yourself comfortable. We're going to go deep and look at all the details in this computer case. $70 budget-friendly case from Zalman. And when I was buying this case and I was kind of looking around at some other products, I went to Reddit for some other reason, reading around, but stumbled upon a post about Zalman, and some of the younger users these days don't know who Zalman are, and they were like asking questions. Well, who is Zalman? What kind of company is Zalman? Somebody like me that's much older, let me tell you, this is one of the first companies that I encounter making a high quality products. Originally from Korea, and they were making these amazing tower coolers for the old AMD Athlon CPUs, and I remember buying those with a 90mm integrated fan with not RGB at the time, it was only blue light, but they had controllers, they had all kinds of stuff. Those towers were all made of copper, high quality stuff, and it's more than 20 years that I've followed the company and see some of their products, and I'm so happy they're bringing some more products nowadays, like this computer case that we're gonna go check out right away. Without further ado, we're gonna dive into the details, and at the end we're gonna talk about it in the conclusion. So per usual, we're gonna start with the accessories, which are housed in the back of the case inside the hard drive cage. And you'll see, here's where the budget comes from. No box, nothing fancy, just a plastic bag that is tied to the hard drive cage, which is also plastic. We have the user manual in English, but let me untie this so you'll see what is inside the actual baggie. Now here are a couple of things that I actually was not expecting Zalman to give you for this kind of price. You have the rubber protectors for the USB and the 3.5mm headphone jacks. Excellent to see here, especially for the price. We have a motherboard speaker, which is an excellent tool if you want to diagnose some error codes. It's not a lot of makers are giving you this, by the way. We have 5 zip ties, and this is kind of important to me. I wish they gave us 3, but at least 2 for those. Because the case is so cheap or budget orientated, those planks in the back are the ones you break off and then you cannot replace them, but luckily they give you 2 extra that you can actually use to cover the holes if you make that kind of choice. Again, 3 would have been ideal because a lot of GPUs these days use 3 of these slots or more sometimes. And then we have the microfiber cloth to wipe off your fingerprints. Excellent to see, finally. And last but not least, we have all the screws. So that's a pretty compelling package, I have to say, especially considering that we're talking about a case that it's only $70. Now the rear end of the case is somewhat classically constructed. We have only a placement for 120mm fan right here. At least you have an inch of displacement up or down when you can shift this fan and make room for maybe AO on top or something else. This is very nice and commendable. Some reinforcement on the metal. You see how it's bent. That's very good. And these are the 7 slots I was talking about that you have to actually break off. So make sure when you mount your motherboard to really see exactly where your GPU is going to land before you start breaking off these, because as you saw at the beginning, there are only 2 extra that you can put in to replace. Otherwise you're gonna have to buy a whole new set. Yeah, they ran on Amazon around up to $10, but still, if you're on a budget, that's going to increase your budget and you don't want to spend any more money, so be careful with that. Some protection here on top, only 1 screw to do it, which is fine. I really like that, and in fact, using plastic cover over the screws, sometimes I prefer. The only issue is over time this plastic will age and most likely will crack, and I will strip it from the actual screw, but you can replace these again in the future if you really want to keep this case. In the bottom, cut out for the power supply. No kind of power supply mounting options here where you can take it and mount it on the outside, but I'm not expecting that for a case that is costing this much. But one of the biggest things, and I'm going to continue to emphasize this during the video, is the inclusion of 4 fans. So Zalman is including 1, 2, 3 in the front and 1 in the back that are 120mm, and they are RGB. Yes, they're not addressable RGB, they're just simple RGB, but again, 4 fans in the case with a glass for $70. Now we're gonna move to the right side of the case, or the back of the motherboard tray. So if we move on this side, you'll see there's nothing, no penetrations, no filters, nothing. And these are the screws used. They're not capped, so be careful when you take them off, and they will fly off, and hopefully you're not gonna lose them. I almost did one of them, but I have a lot of things around my desk. And before I open it, check out these legs. So the legs are with this fake chrome. Obviously this is a plastic, but it doesn't matter. The distance between the desk and the case is about ½ inch, maybe a little bit more. Good enough if you're placing it on top of the desk, but if you're placing it on the carpet, you might have some issues with the power supply intake. And then the bottom of the feet is the foam and not rubber. Again, normal choice if we talk about budget cases. Now if we take the side cover, the metal of it, it's not the most sturdiest, but again, I don't expect that. And if we do a quick overview here, you will notice they have worked hard to reinforce some of these penetrations. That way this motherboard tray, which is not removable, it's not completely flimsy. Large opening here, 2 openings on the top, time points all over the place, which I really appreciate and I really like. Mounting for SSD drive here on the back, fairly easy to be done. The cables are tied over here, not the best management, but again, it's fine. And 1, 2, 3 penetrations here for 24 power cable and your PCI cables and all that stuff. So I don't see any particular design issues here. The distance is about 2.5 centimeters as well between the tray and the outside. So quite a few good things. Now, I'm going to mention this right away. You will notice we have an adapter that connects all the 3 fans in the front. Unfortunately, this adapter is not housing or providing any option to connect this 4th fan, which is the back fan, which means you have to find a way to plug this one in the back in a different location in your motherboard, or maybe incorporate some kind of a fan controller. Because these are not PWM. You see this is a 3-pin. The front ones are also 3-pin, but somehow they are providing you an adapter that it's PWM. So the adapter that is connecting all 3 fans in the front is PWM and goes to PWM for your motherboard. And of course, you are not going to be able to control the RPMs if they're not PWM. So maybe if you have a cheap controller, you can plug it in and control all 4. That would be ideal. Otherwise, you're gonna have to deal with whatever RPMs are. And after we plug it in, we'll see what kind of noise it's generating. Now, if we move to the other cables here, we have the super stiff, as always, USB 3 connector. We have some colorful cables here for the HD audio and the USB 2, old school a little bit in the front. Luckily, the power LED, power switch, and all that hard drive LED are all on one cable, and this is, you know, this flat cable, which I actually prefer. That way it's less clutter inside and issues. Now if we're moving down below, one of the best things, and I mentioned this is pretty much in any other video, we have a nice rails that are extending from the back to the front of the power supply. Meaning, if you put your power supply over here, it's not going to be metal versus metal. It's not going to be scratched. It's not going to create any noise. This is noise dampening and protection for your power supply. I really like it. It's the foam. It's not too tall, but if your power supply is not extremely heavy, it will be fine over time. The penetrations on the bottom are fine, but the included filter is one of those. You have to really flip the case to kind of squeeze it and take the filter out. Normal touch for cases that are in a more budget area. And the power supply here, you can look at it 17-18 centimeter power supply before you remove the hard drive cage, which in my case I always remove and throw it back in a box somewhere, because I don't need hard drives, conventional hard drives. And if I remove it, then the power supply option is extending even more, and there's more air gonna be coming from that fan in the bottom as well, and not being obstructed by this metal cage right here. Otherwise, you can install 2 hard drives here, and this is the plastic caddy. You can mount one of them and just click it right here, and then pinch and pull, and this is how that hard drive goes in. You can mount one on top as well. What else to mention out here in the back side? Nothing really too excited. I think the distance between the top screws for the motherboard and the roof is about 2 inches, so that will accommodate nicely a radiator and fans without reaching the top of the motherboard, which is almost ideal. It's tall enough to give you this kind of comfort. And this is one of those cases that's slightly shorter. You know, the distance from the front to the back is short, so no possibility for 360 on the top. If I remove this filter real quick, you'll see this is just a magnetic filter. On the top, you're able to install 240 millimeter AIO, 280 millimeter AIO, or two 120 and two 140 fans. Top AIO here, we have the power reset, separated 3.5 millimeter headphone jacks for the headphone and the microphone, one USB 2 and two USB 3 ports. The USB 2 is super old school. I was not aware that cases are still including this, but Zalman included it, which is absolutely fine in my book. If you don't want to use it, don't use it, who cares? Or you can plug some maybe dongle for your wireless mouse or wireless keyboard, and it's gonna be just fine. That's pretty much everything from the back side over here. Let's move on to the front panel. So now looking at the front panel, we have a very nice fine mesh, kind of a different pattern. They've done more of like a flower, I would say. All through, we have large opening all the way to the top, to the bottom, revealing the three fans, and even on the side right here, there's some kind of filtration. They didn't just leave it open like this. And the other best news over here is, remember what I said about the Antec cases not having a hole right here? Same as with Zalman, no hole, just a little grip for your fingers so you can pull this front panel when you want to clean it or maybe install new fans and stuff like that. So that's a big plus in my book, and huge props to Zalman, even for a budget case like this, not to ruin it for us. So with a quick pull from the bottom, you're able to separate this whole thing, and let me lay it down, show you a few things. So yeah, there is just the mesh, no additional filter, plastic clips. Obviously we're talking about budget here, but here's the little handle. You'll see how your fingers end up here, and this whole plastic covers the hole, so you're still able to pull away, and at the same time no dust will be accumulated through this hole. Here are the fans, 120 millimeter fans, RGB. They're already mounted. They can be repositioned up or down depending how you want them, but in addition you are able to install an 140 millimeter fans as well, and not only two but three, because you have space on the bottom and you have more space on the top. So three 140s are also available. They already routed the cables here, and I really don't blame Zalman using these kind of fans, non-PWM, non-addressable RGB. For $70, at least they're giving you four fans. They're kind of matching. So yeah, it's a good deal. It's a good deal in my book. Good penetrations here on the side for routing your cables from the fans, and even through here you can route them. So there's a lot of little cutouts and points you can run these cables, and I like what they've done here. Let me quickly plug in my power supply and see how these fans actually look when they're turned on. And this is how the RGB fans look like. Actually, I like how they look. I mean, it's just a regular rainbow all the way in the back as well. If you don't have a fan controller, you might have to source yourself one of those adapters. You see it's a SATA to PWM, and obviously these are not PWM, but still you can connect them. They're gonna run at maximum speed. They sell these on Amazon. You can have them not only for two cables coming out, but three if you want to, or more, which is providing the maximum. And since they already gave us this adapter for the front three, it works out great in this particular case because we have one plugged in the front and one for the back fan. So all four fans are technically controlled by this adapter, or not really controlled, but just receive power. And I'm gonna silence myself for a second. Let's see if we can try to hear these fans, because to me they sound pretty silent. And my experience is showing me that these fans are not even running over 1200 RPMs. I mean, honestly, they're completely silent in my book, especially if you have other hardware running inside a GPU
maybe a computer tower, some kind of a cooler there, or AIO. These are very silent at maximum speed. Probably they're running at 800 RPMs. This is kind of like my experience, what tells me. I don't think it's exceeding more than that. And they are pushing plenty of air for that. And well, looking good. Honestly, if you don't want to change, yeah, I can put my hand inside and see all the air coming in. So they're pushing plenty of air. If you don't want to change the colors, if you're okay with the rainbow, I think these are just fine. Yeah, let me put the front mesh and see how it looks. Here is with the front mesh, a little bit more muted. Still, there's a space between the fans and the outside mesh, about centimeter and a half, I would say. As far as I can see or feel, the air, it doesn't change too much. Yeah, obviously there's going to be some obstruction, but still looks pretty good to me. Now we're moving to the main chamber. Now if we move to the main chamber, the glass panel is one of those held by magnets, kind of strong. So you see it moves the whole case just by grabbing the handle here. Plastic handle, actually really nice one. Unfortunately, the glass is very thin, so be careful. This is not the normal 4mm one. This is probably 2.5, 3mm thick glass. Great news here is it's hinged. So if I open this, you'll see it goes all the way around, completely providing maximum clearance for you to work on whatever you want. And of course, from the hinges, you can lift it up and remove this whole glass panel. For now, I'm just gonna leave it on because it's on hinges, so who cares, right? Here's the main chamber, per usual, perforated honeycomb on top. Mounting points for 2 fans. Don't do that. Doesn't look good. Power supply is going to block, and it's going to create a lot more noise than anything else. So I don't know why companies are keep insisting creating this unless they're giving you at least an inch more of clearance above the power supply for those fans to draw the air from the bottom, and they can actually breathe. 2 penetrations on the bottom where you can route your cables, but you see, if you have your power supply here, you better be very crafty to route the cables through that little crack, or route them preliminary before you put the power supply, otherwise you might have issues. Cutouts here so you can see the nice old school HP label or any other labels you want. Minimal branding by Zalman on the inside, love that. Nothing crazy on the outside to kind of distract you or scream too much. This is much more preferable than, remember the old Montag cases that I reviewed with a giant writing down Montag. This is better. Space between the front and the actual shroud, implying you can use 360 radiators here with fans, giving you enough clearance, so not completely impossible. If you want to add a 360 or maybe custom loop, I don't know why would you use this kind of a budget case, but anyway, you can do it. And if you want to use a regular kind of a consumer-based 360 AIO with fans, or maybe just use these fans and slap the radiator there, can be done. Just remember you need to remove this hard drive cage from there. Normal thing is there are budget cases, cables exposed, glue exposed, stuff like that. Be careful not to knock these out. They're routed through the top hole, which is fine, kind of out of the way. I don't mind that actually. And you can see here the large penetrations, the already installed motherboard standoffs, all around through ATX, micro ATX, mini ATX, all that is possible. Back fan spinning can be up and down. And again, the clearance between the last top mounting points for the power supply and the roof is 2 inches. So 240, 280, no problem. I think Zalman has done a great job for $70 to provide you a lot of options. Glass panel on hinges, 4 fans, and pretty good space actually. So yeah, let's go and talk about it in a conclusion.
All right, conclusion time. And what do I think about the i3 Neo? I mean, what can I say? Hinge glass, 4 RGB fans, all that for $70. I mean, this is a compelling product. Honestly, if you're on a budget, and if you don't want to spend more than $70, you don't have extra fans, you don't care too much about installing a 360 on top like myself, and you just want to put some hardware inside, maybe get mid-range GPU or something like this, this is a great case. Doesn't take too much space. Modern features with the glass. We have the 3 fans pushing a lot of air inside, fine mesh in the front. Really, nothing really striking over here that I can ding them for what they're doing. Yeah, for $70, yeah, more features would have been amazing. They try to work around to find the best possible solution for you to not lack a lot of the features, but at the same time save some money. You know, thinner glass, those planks in the back that you have to break, you know, luckily they're giving you 2 more. Not addressable RGB, all that stuff, foam on the bottom of the feet instead of rubber. All these things, they really shave a little bit off the budget, and at the same time create a case that it's pretty good. I personally am sort of impressed that you're getting this kind of a case. And you know, see, this is how the hinges are coming off here very easily if you want to remove the glass and just work on your case this way, and then just slide it back in. Magnets are super strong, by the way. If you don't have any components inside, it's pulling the whole case around. To me, this is a very good product. Great job, Zalman. Can't wait to see any other cases coming very soon. And yeah, this is pretty much it. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe if you're new. Check out some of the other videos coming very, very soon. Check out the link in the description below. If you want to support the channel directly, it helps me tremendously to bring you videos like this regularly. And as always, guys, you have a wonderful day.